All right, so today we're talking with Godwin Ihentuge, and he's the founder of Young Village. So thanks for taking the time
I appreciate it.
participating in the interview. Really appreciate it. We've known each other for a while now. I feel like, I feel like we're getting good at this. So how are you doing these days? I know you had some challenges lately.
I had an accident. After the accident, then I caught COVID.
Oh my goodness.
It's been up and down.
Yeah.
But I'm back in the mix. I'm good. I'm positive. I'm negative.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. I tell you, so many people have been affected, and one of my really good friends died from the COVID way back in March, and that's the thing really hit home to me back then. And then Marlo, unbelievable. Yeah. A lot of things been happening in Detroit, obviously, with the COVID, and then with the racial injustice, protests. So what's your view? How are things in the city now?
I think that it's important that a lot more attention has been shown on this. I'm now about to be 36. I've been arrested over 35 times. I've been in cuffs and arrested over 35 times in my lifetime. And even when I was 6 years old, I'll never forget it. I was at a department store. I'm not going to name which one it was. I saw a bunch of toys that had been looked like they were taken out of packaging. And so, I went and got like a little basket. I was loading all the toys up so I could take to the front, and so I'm walking with this basket of toys that are all out of the container to go and turn them in, and then the security guard or whatever sees me, grabs me up.
At 6?
At 6 years old, puts me inside whatever, that little holding thing, tell everybody I was trying to steal the toys. I'm so I think that the color of your skin has always played a part in how some people experience things and how other people experience things.
Yeah.
I think that the general universal acceptance that this is a thing is a step that hasn't been taken yet. So
Yeah.
I think that all of that aside, in terms of the protests and everything, I think that the bigger picture here is that these things exist, and the universal awareness that these things exist can now then lead to steps on how we can alleviate their existence.
Yeah. We've been talking for years, we need to have a conversation. Well, this is more than a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like either things are going to go one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we are confronted this time.
Oh, yeah. It has to be.
Yeah.
A kid who killed people who they say he's a troubled young man.
Yeah.
And you got a kid who didn't kill people who's a thug.
Exactly. Yeah. So coming back to the business, you're here right in the heart of Detroit. In a nutshell, what does Young Village do?
So in a nutshell, Young Village spreads Afro-Caribbean culture through food and activities spread across the diaspora. Originally, we were Afro-Caribbean Eats, limited casual, quick casual. Now we're a little bit of food and culture across the diaspora within our establishment. So you can come to Young Village, grab the quick Afro-Caribbean Eats.
Yeah.
But you can also come to Young Village with some culture, whether it be Afro-Caribbean inspired drinks, or sauces, or spices, or things like beard oil, lip balms, lotions, body spray, soaps, that kind of stuff.
So I appreciate, I got my spice gift here and a few other bottles I'm going to take home.
We're going to hook you up with the spice, the Bath and Body products.
Oh my goodness.
We'll have some actually, by the end of this weekend, we should have some lotions, some lip balms, and some liquid soaps.
That's great. So it's about the experience. It's not just a restaurant. It's about the whole
more
culture and experience.
Yeah. I've always thought that the cool thing about food is that there's just this unique ability to connect people.
Yeah.
Two people who speak no simultaneous language together and sit down at a table with a good meal and be connected.
Yeah.
They'll look at each other, and if they eat every day for a whole year, they'll find a way to communicate with each
Yeah.
other. That's the magic of food. It will happen.
Yeah.
Regardless of what exterior barriers are in place. So
Yeah.
I love that about it.
So before going further and talking about the business and the business model and everything, fill us in on your background, as a person.
Well, it's a little bit of an interesting one. So I've always had some aspects of business in my background. I went to university, Wayne State University. I had a football scholarship there initially, and I looked for business and industrial organization psychology, the study of people in the workplace. From there, I started working as an intern, and then quickly promoted from intern to manager at the entertainment coupon board. Those that participated in any of those. I was in the analytics marketing department, so a little bit different from graphic design stuff. My role was purely linked to people and behavioral patterns as it relates to our advertising and marketing sets. So I didn't get to participate in all the glitz and glam, but I was the one who would research, like, okay, based off of this amount of news that we've done, or based off of this type of mail campaign that we've done, this is what the numbers actually show. So I did that. I transitioned from that to Target. I worked in Target department for 3 years. Eventually became a district manager in charge of about 24 units and over hundreds of thousands of employees across the district. From there, I went to Mosaic Youth Theater, worked in their marketing department. My first time working both marketing and development and for a non-profit company all at the same time. Then I went from there to mortgage banker. After mortgage banker, I worked at Quicken Loans, had to do some unique high-pressure selling, and I took a lot of the money that I made from Quicken Loans, and I took that money to invest in Young Village. So Young Village initially started off as an app company. We're going to be the Airbnb of restaurant spaces. So we worked with chefs, we worked with underutilized spaces, typically restaurants, connected them together in the very same fashion that someone looks for a hotel or living space on Airbnb, and then we took our cut. What we found was that chefs don't have a lot of the marketing skills, like understanding branding and brand integrity and things as simple as they need to have business cards and websites developed. So we evolved into more of an online A&R company for chefs, and we helped them develop these things, which led to us doing pop-ups. We did the pop-ups for about a few years. From there, and evolved from doing pop-ups to food trucks. Now, what happened was at our peak, we were doing about 2 dinners a month, sometimes 3, averaging anywhere from 80 to 120 guests per dinner, with an average ticket price of $65. And then right down the middle, we would do a 50% split with the chef that we worked with. So, I started looking at it as, well, I'm a chef too, so I can do chef things as well. And so Young Village did our pivot again. We became a very crafty pivot company in which we started doing those pop-ups in-house. So it became Young Village, Pop-Up in a Box. We started doing more event planning and catering. As we grew with that business, we got a food truck and started to do that at a larger scale. And then from food truck, we eventually got our restaurant. We started operating a restaurant. We've been here for about 1 year now. April will have been our year anniversary. And then through COVID, we began to pivot differently. Pre-COVID, 5 to 10% of our transactions were online. Post-COVID, 85% of our transactions are online. And so with that, it gave a unique opportunity to explore other options. In fact, we also did refrigerated meals pre-COVID. We probably were only doing maybe 30 to 50 refrigerated meals pre-COVID. Post-COVID, we're averaging somewhere around 15 to 1,700 refrigerated meals a week.
Oh my goodness.
And then we're also still doing the restaurant as well, and then the events and things like that. So it's really pushed us in a position where we're exploring, working with different vending machine companies to put those refrigerated meals in vending machines and stationed in hospitals, universities, things like that. So COVID has given us an opportunity to be more flexible and have access to a greater customer base that we can push our products out to where they're not relying solely on coming into the restaurant. As our foot traffic, has dropped. So and we don't have that anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to park.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing. Man, oh, man.
Yeah, you can get a good spot now.
So when did you start Young Village?
We started Young Village back in 2013. Originally, Young Village, if we were to say a lifeline, would have been 2012. We had Phenomenon doing potato skin tacos and things like that. And then in 2013, we changed it to Young Village because at the time, due to capacity, it was myself and two other individuals. We were strapped for cash. We didn't really have any cash to support things. And so the plan was I go and become a mortgage banker and make the money, and then the other guys operate. And so that necessarily didn't work out all the way. So after that, I had to now also operate too. So we had to make some changes.
So when did this chef thing come in? I didn't hear in your background this chefery.
I've been in the kitchen for a long time. My first job outside of working for my father, he was one of the original programmers for Marvin with the state of Michigan. And then Marvin. So my family moved to Detroit so that my father could work on Marvin right here in the state building.
What is Marvin?
Marvin is the old unemployment software. So when he's like, better call Marvin or something like that, that was the old phone computer-based unemployment software. I think we stopped using it maybe around the time, right before the recession. But he came here in the 90s, I think 94, 92 or something like that. So we came from Kodak in Buffalo, Michigan for him to work on that. And then when I went to Wayne State, my first job was as a dishwasher inside the cafeteria. And within my first 6 months, I was promoted from dishwasher to supervisor and eventually manager of the pizza department for the Wayne State cafeteria. I eventually went on to work in the Wayne State Grill, which is a Wayne State-based restaurant. Then from there, I started working in sort of Coney Islands. I worked at TGI Fridays, and all of those types of places. I worked at a restaurant called Asian Village here. And essentially, I kind of did what everyone else does, where I worked the circuit of Detroit-based restaurants. I was at Colors during the time of still in Young Village, operating as an interim general manager there. I also worked at Sergeant Pepperoni's and 2941 Street Food. When I had the food truck, I still had two full-time jobs where I worked in other restaurants and stuff to make it go, because you don't just start your business and you're making money.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I've been in kitchens throughout, but I've never been a head kitchen person, except for when I was doing the general manager activities.
So where do these Afro-Caribbean recipes and expertise come from?
So, I'm first generation Nigerian. A lot of these recipes are food that I've actually grown up eating in my household from great-grandmother or great-grandfather. And I've adjusted them based off of my acumen from being inside professional kitchens. So one thing in particular is that you don't see a lot of big batch baking of African rices, for example, because it's not there. But imagine if African food was in a culinary school, for example, we'd really see a lot more evolutionary dishes that are African inspired. Just like how you see Asian themed or Asian and Mexican themed, or all of these things that come out from these bright young people in the culinary schools. I would love to see jollof rice arancini balls, or things that you see in we have a play on the pusa here. We have a play on an Afro style poutine where we use not necessarily gravy, but a stew based similar to a gravy that we put over starch, such as fries or rice or couscous or something like that.
Yeah.
The future is Afro-Caribbean for sure.
Yeah. I'm getting hungry just listening.
We got you.
So you talked a little bit about the mission, what you're trying to achieve. What kind of impact would you like to have in the community looking down the road?
Honestly, I'd like to see more Afro-Caribbean food. I'm starting to see that now. We're starting to see a lot more African and Jamaican-based, Caribbean-based food trucks and restaurants that are starting to open up, and a lot more variety on the food. One of the things that has hit me, and I had an issue with, and it's still something that we have an issue with, is there's so much in Afro-Caribbean. There's the diaspora, then there's the actual countries, the continent, and the actual countries themselves. There's hundreds of thousands of dialects, and so sometimes I'll get hit with the traditional, and it's not this, but one of the things that's uniquely neat is the model that and ethos that we've had here of African race, Detroit made, and really being a bridge to the gap that is the diaspora. At the end of the day, the city of Detroit is, I think it's 80% African American now. When we first got here, it was like 97. So whatever that's about, but it's 80% now, right?
Yeah.
So having food that is representative of the folks who are from the city, and then getting them started, and not to call out or something, but we'll have someone call us something. They'll be like, "Oh, let me get the jollof rice with the suyas chicken," and we're like, "Yeah, that's what we want. You want that?
Yeah, right.
This is part of your heritage, history." That now they're coming here and eating this type of food, and they might Google it now, or they might look it up now, or they might now look into the oils and clothing and just other stuff that they don't naturally look into. And ultimately, that leads back to a higher likelihood of circulation of the dollars from the community to within the community. We are a black business, we're supporting black products.
So who are the people who tend to be your customers?
We actually have a wide variety of customer base, but we're going to go based off of demographics through online and credit card demos. Our clientele base is 60% women and 40% men between the ages of 22 and 48. The main regions are Michigan, Florida, Georgia, and Ohio. Those four states have a lot of impression points as it relates to Young Village. So our knowledge based off of that is that we have primarily women who are between the ages of 22 and 48 from these four regions that come in here and support the food, whether that be when they come visit, or in the case of Michigan, who are just happen to be here and supporting us. When we were a food truck, that held true for the most part too. I don't know so much about the region of Georgia, but for certain, my father had the food truck originally in Florida and brought it up here, and then my brother lives in Ohio. He does Young Village stuff down there in Ohio, so that makes sense. And then on the food truck, our customer base just happened to be 60% women, more like 70%. It's higher on the truck and then 30% male. I'm not sure why that is. We just have a lot more female women supporters than men supporters.
Yeah. So
It's going to like the bad body.
That might be true of a lot of things, right? Women tend to make the decision about what to get. So when I go to 2941 street food, Mediterranean, or I go to Chipotle, Mexican, kind of thing, I see all kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
Is that pretty much true here demographically in terms of the background of people?
Yeah. I mean, and that would kind of be like, I kind of wanted to have like something similar to the Chipotle, and having worked at 2941 street food myself, we definitely want to have like that type of market fair atmosphere. But in terms of racial breakdown, we got people from all over.
Yeah.
We got every type of demographic. It's more or less, if you like spice and flavor in your food, they're coming to rock with us.
Well, it seems to be a huge potential, and I always wonder, you see Chinese restaurants everywhere. You see Mexican restaurants. You don't see, in terms of mass market Afro-Caribbean,
Not yet. And we're probably one of the first to markets in that regard, trying to brand it and franchise it out. A lot of African and Caribbean-based restaurants, they open, but they maintain that mom and pop, where there hasn't been someone who's like, I'm a Taco Bell African food, right? No one sets out to do that.
Yeah.
And when they do, they get attacked and ridiculed because it's not authentic.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, have embraced that.
Yeah, right.
Hey, there's a million Taco Bells out there. So they're doing something right. So I kind of look at it like that. There's a large opportunity to get out there and put that type of thing there. But also there's just the buyer confidence. Even now, I still have to do quite a bit to show the viability of sales. Where compared to when I was in my wisdom days, I was applying to do African food, and I've been told to my face by banks and lenders that they don't feel confident that African food will sell. And we're in Detroit, one of the blackest cities in the country. They're telling me African food won't sell here. So there's also just that association with the food that like whatever stigma that is that needs to be overcome as well. We still have a little bit of that too. People don't know what the food is. There's still a lot of discovery. So much like the very first Chinese restaurants in that regard, I'm sure they went through this too. We'll get people who call us and they hear about us, but they don't want to try anything because they don't know what anything is. So we can't do samples like we used to anymore, and so people just gotta trust the word of mouth and kind of go with that. So we've even taken on that challenge of doing things like putting traditional stews, African stews, over things like French fries to not only spread accessibility, but also make it approachable as well to the general populace as it relates. Because, even though Chinese food or that type of food has nothing to do with us, because it's so commonplace, we were like, let me
get to Chinese. We just had a really nice meal from P.F. Chang's last week, and that's about the furthest thing from authentic you're going to find, but it's good.
I know, right? And P.F. Chang's, they tell you, Chinese food, gourmet Chinese food. We get some jollof rice here and lamb shank and do the same thing.
Well, it's so that tells me there's a huge opportunity, unmet opportunity there.
100%, I think so too.
So how do you go about getting more customers in the restaurant, or growing the business?
So we do a few things. We do partnerships and developments. We got Alabama Ali right here working with us and helping us build. And the whole idea behind it is like when you think of like an armada or like how the Navy works, you have a bunch of different ships in unison going together, even though they all have different flags. Like they still probably fight for this country, but they're of this tribe, or this tribe, or this conglomerate. And so I like to kind of keep that same type of methodology for Young Village. And I look at it like this. We'll have vending machines. And so with vending machines, people will have the ability to try the food, no pressure, grab and go at a lower price. We have refrigerated meals and meal plans where people can kind of get those meals to go, things like that. We have Brother Sabri does the juices, so we've got juices, things like that. And so in addition to like things like we do a podcast, so we have a podcast where we talk about behind the food, refrigerated diaries behind the food. We've got like different guests and stuff that come on that. We have like our cocktails and alcohol. So we take those very same juices and drinks and put alcohol into them. And they taste great still.
Yeah.
You know? And so we do a lot of these activities to spread in the newsletter. We have 7,500 organic subscribers to our newsletter. So we're not saying buy this thing or purchase this thing. We're saying like, hey, this is what's going on in our community. This is what's going on in our village. This is how we do things. Yusuf, this is how we do things. Yusuf, yeah, help the young lady here, please. This is how we do things, and we kind of also look at that from an expansion standpoint. So most of the time, when people are like doing their business, they forget, that you're in business to efficiently transact. It's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep.
Yeah.
Right. And so when people talk to me about expansion, right? When I think of that, I think of like, okay, well, we do Young Village juices. So Young Village juices could just take up spot. Mm-hmm. That could be an expansion.
Yeah.
It's not as high as a controlled margin. You don't need a lot of labor there, and it can be done. Then you could put auxiliary products like spices and Bath and Body and clothing there. And now you've got like a sustained space. So we really take more of a hands back approach on what makes sense and how can we combine marketing efforts that are still going to generate money. So that's like sauces and spices.
Yeah.
We still look at these as marketing tools, even though they're purchasable products. And we still look at the juices, our cooking classes, all of these things as products that are marketing us in some way, but also still generating some aspect of income. We most recently started looking into an actual marketing campaign to coincide with like our body flay stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, and I'm like, I know I'm technically a millennial or Zennial as they would call it, but I was around before these phones, and so I remember print media, and I'm one of those people who, if I go for a run or I go for a walk, or I don't really take my phone with me all the time. I put it on the charger, I let it go. I'm not one of the people, even though I use a lot of technology, I'm not like a technology person. Like my dad was really good about, even though he worked in technology, he was like, no, you guys are not going to be technology people. And so, because of that, I know that one fatal flaw with current businesses is that you only know about the business when you're on your phone or you're at the business, which isn't realistic because there's so many things that you're competing with when you're on your phone, and you're not going to be at the business all the time, especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
So doing things like putting ads on the back of buses, or putting ads in the side of buses, or looking into geo-fencing, mobile marketing, things like that, where you got a geo-fence around your area, and people using something, you got an ad that comes up. Those types of things are lost in new business models and new business plans, because all this new stuff where they're like, oh, you don't have to do PR, or you don't have to do all this other stuff, just put it online and you're good, because some hack said it was okay. Like, it's not true. So, we definitely have those types of activities that we do. We still do like the ads and all that stuff, but we have our own newsletter that we advertise. People subscribe to that.
Yeah.
We're in the media quite a bit as well. I think we've averaged media for we've averaged media since Corona happened. We've been in the media about 35 times from March to now. And then last year in 2019, we were in the media in some way, shape, or form, at least once every month from January through to December. And even now, we're a little understaffed, but that's not a bad problem to have. And the fact that it's forcing us to do things like transition our business to online only. That way, we can dedicate a person to answer phones for more of like guest experience, guest liaison. I was at the Greektown Casino. I was at the MGM Casino for a bachelor party last year before all this stuff happened. And I'll never forget that they gave us cigars to smoke and all this stuff, and I didn't have a way to cut it or light it, and so somebody came over and he was like, "Oh, I got you." He cut it, lit it, hung out with us for about 20 minutes, and he was like, "Okay, I gotta go." I was like, "So who are you here with?" He was like, "I work here." I was like, "Well, really?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm a guest experience liaison." I'm like, "That's amazing, Like imagine if restaurants had this.
Yeah.
They have no issues.
Yeah.
Like somebody whose whole job is to make sure your experience is good. That's genius. I'm like, I should have thought of this. So,
I experienced that in Jamaica back in the 90s. We used to go to this resort there, and there would be these people, attractive young people, and they would come around and, talk to you and get involved. And they're like the party starters, right? They call them the coordinators.
Okay.
But it was the same idea. I used to think that we need that.
You gotta have a little catalyst in place.
Yeah, definitely. So what are the places, the ways in which people access the business? You've got people walking in.
Yep. We got people walking in. We got people contacting us on the phone. We got people who can order online. You can order right from the website. You can order from any of the third parties. You can also order from Facebook, Google, and directly off of Instagram. So if somebody sees something that they like in a picture, as long as it's attached to the POS, they can click that picture and purchase it right through Instagram.
Yeah. And then people can get the products through the restaurant, delivery. Do you use any of the outfits, DoorDash and all that stuff?
DoorDash, yeah.
And do you do your own delivery?
We're working on it in-house right now, but most recently, we just signed up with Black & Mobile to be their exclusive delivery partner. So we'll only be able to do pickup from the other ones, and might as well just do pickup from us at that point, and then delivery and exclusively through Black & Mobile. They agreed to a 15% commission rate, so they'll take 15% of the price of it.
Is that a local business?
Black & Mobile is not local. I believe they started in Philadelphia, but they're the only Black-owned and operated food delivery service in the country. They started about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now, and they were recently featured in a Pharrell and Jay-Z music video.
Oh, wow. And so then you got the vending machine. That's another way people can get the food. Are you still doing the trucks?
We actually just sold our food truck this week. So we're helping the people who are purchasing the food truck from us. They're going to take this last season to do Young Village food and kind of go through the Young Village incubator, and then from there they'll take it on the road on their own.
Are you still doing catering?
We are still doing catering. We're doing catering. Probably do about maybe 2 or 3 caterings a week. It's just more so we've kind of paused on a lot of the labor-intensive activities because
and the person to person.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't have a lot of that. And unfortunately, we've like the population is 50-50 understanding and not understanding, right? Like someone like you, like our phone rings quite a bit. We only got one line or one person really talking on the phone. And then if the other people start talking on the phone, the production gets kind of slowed up. So we kind of have like a little bit of a capacity cap right now what we're able to do, even hours. You know, like we want to open until 10, but finding the population that's willing to work until 10 in these conditions has been tough. So it's definitely been one thing I will say is that like an exercise and like muscles and all of that, I feel like through this experience, there are not going to be people who have not been able to survive, right? Like I feel like stronger, sharper, faster, better because of what we've gone through.
Well, on the other hand, I remember when this place opened, and it was envisioned to be like a neighborhood spot. People can come together and whatnot, and so it's disappointing that COVID has taken that away. But hopefully we'll get it back.
And we still want to do that. One of the things that we are for sure doing, pending us staying here with the lease, is to convert half of this dining room into a marketplace. I kind of tell people to think of like Eatery in Capitol Park, only African Caribbean, or think of Noble Fish in Clawson, but only African Caribbean. So you can still get your grab and goes. There'll be a vending machine here for when it's closed. We got the liquor license so you can get beer, wine, and canned cocktails to go. And you'll also be able to grab things like produce and meat, halal meats right from the butcher here, that are cut and portioned out for you. So I do think that this particular area does need like a quick ethnic-based marketplace. You can go to Whole Foods, you can go to Plum Market, you can go to the Food Mart, University Foods over there on Warren, but you're unable to come into a place and get like your plantains, get your halal meats, get your spices, and things like that, ready to go to take home and cook. Or things like grilling. Like we have jerk chicken grill kits where we pre-marinate the leg quarters and we give you peppers and plantain and spices to take home and make it at home. So a lot of those things that you can get like a Plum Market or Kroger or something like that, we want to make it so that you can come here and get it. And that way it doesn't have us, having a dining room that's not being utilized. At least with that, we can open it up. People can come and sit down with the limited spacing that we'll have available, and they'll also be able to get their products on the go. 17% of the consumer dollar in the household is dedicated towards food, period. And so when you think about how much of that 17% is going to go to restaurants, is a lot lower. So buyer behavior patterns have changed quite a bit between online ordering and things like that, and where that 17% actually goes to home. So taking that into account and coming out of COVID, I know that only 40% of the people take the flu shot right now. So I don't see that changing.
It's going to take a while. I think we're looking at 2022, hopefully.
I feel that by the time we get to summer of 2021, if we're able to have concerts and things like the variable-based dollar, because I knew people were going back to school. I've worked in retail. I worked at Target. Back to school is just such a high dollar industry. There's no way that they're going to let that go. So the concerts, that's a different one. That's a variable, right? I think even travel, was it $2 trillion in travel expenses are going to be missed out on this year due to the indirectness of what COVID brings. So, there's quite a lot of that goes. But for us, the biggest focus is making sure that we're able to transact efficiently as many times as possible, and then also in that process of transacting, we're doing something to promote further transactions, whether it be direct or indirect. So you buy sausage, you buy spices, you buy clothing, you buy the Bath and Body, you do cooking classes. Any of these things that not only is a good product, but also further deepens that person's connection to Afro-Caribbean art and culture as it's spread across the diaspora.
Mm-hmm. So speaking about transactions and whatnot, what would you say are the top 5 revenue streams for the business?
Right, the top 5 revenue streams for the business right now are refrigerated meals. We typically do about 1,700 of those a week. I even say that currently that is more than our restaurant business. Over the year, our restaurant business is responsible for about 56% of our total transactions. But currently, in this current landscape, refrigerated meals are about majority of our business, about 40%. Right now. The next thing is the spices. We sell quite a bit of spices, then juices. We sell the juices, and then the restaurant, which is probably between like 1 and 2. And then the number 5 is the clothing. We don't sell a lot of the bath and body. We sell like a ton of soap when we're doing the soap, but we haven't had soap to sell right now. We're switching. We're doing bar soap, and so we're switching from bar soap to liquid gel-based soap, just because it's easier to maintain, produce, and all of that. And then lip balm and beard stuff. But our top products are the restaurant food, so jerk chicken, curry chicken, jollof rice, turmeric rice, and plantains, and mafe, peanut stew. We sell quite a lot of that on the restaurant side. Then in terms of refrigerated meals, we do typically jerk and curry and a curry and black-eyed beef fritters. Then in terms of spices, we sell mainly our Cameroonian spice. We sell a majority of that, and then we sell our chicken seasoning, just like garlic, salt, garlic, granulated garlic, and spices that we put on the chicken before we cook it. So almost like if you were to marinate or brine the chicken, but without doing that, we just rub it on there.
So if I wanted to get like a refrigerated meal, would I have to come here to get it?
Yep, for right now, you have to come here to get it. I'll send a couple back with you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, you just pop them in the microwave for about 3 minutes, and they're good to go. Then we have like curry goat, lamb, all sorts of things. Today we got jerk curry and black-eyed beef fritters.
So have you looked at selling those refrigerated meals through like Whole Foods or places like that?
So we are currently going through this product thing with MSU, but we're currently going through that product center, and so we're in the process now of labeling out our ingredient and preparation process, so that they can then draft up the product process authority. We gotta have somebody come in, test the city. So we're in
that's their expertise at Michigan State.
I feel really confident that as we get this vending machine prototype in place, we got a good system for the ordering. There's like one vending machine that I went to. They're not here. They got like 5 states they're in. They've got 100 employees, and they've only been around for 5 years. All they do is vending machines and meal plans. They do $26 million a year. And they were made by a guy who works on fabricating vending machines and software development. And they just do salads and things like that, salads and things. And so in their system, if the product, even though it's still good to eat, if it's past their designated shelf life, then you can't order it. You'll have to go to another thing and try to order something different. So those types of opportunities are things that we're still personally working on as we build this out. I anticipate that we should have a working vending machine that's outdoor capable of distributing our food by the time we get into November or December.
Okay. So turn to the cost side of things. What would you say the top 5 cost line items are, expense line items?
Yep. So let's do it this way. So far from now, from January until August, because we're still in September, so from January 1st to August the 31st, our total revenue was $426,000, of which 56% of that, about 56% of that is from restaurant sales, and then about 40K, so about 10%, or 15% of that is through delivery apps, and then the rest is through refrigerated meals, with like only maybe 3 to 5% of that coming from the juices and spices and things like that, of which those costs, that 426,000, 28, so 113,000 and 114,000 respectively are towards personnel and food costs. So those are our 2 highest right there, personnel and food costs. And then attached to the personnel are the payroll taxes. And the taxes so far are about 10%, so 44 and change, so 45,000 towards payroll taxes. So we got payroll taxes, we got payroll itself, payroll liability itself, and then the food costs. Those 3 are our highest, which I think for sure can all be lower, definitely. We pay $15.50 an hour plus tips. We generally pay a higher wage, and when you pay those higher wages, especially the food service type industry, you need the team members to do more than what they would normally do in that situation. So we're definitely squeezing that out. Training development comes into play in that regard too, but that's definitely something. Our next cost is marketing and advertising. We do, not so much in this sense, but we have a bench attorney and a bench PR person who we pay retainers to keep on hand. So that cost is there, and then separate from that, we've got our repair and maintenance costs. So we have to get repairs on a lot of the equipment, water heaters, ventilation, and then even on the food truck, having to do transmission on the food truck, stuff like that. So maintenance and repair costs are probably our next highest, followed by our DTE utility. That's typically somewhere around $1,700 to $2,500 a month, and our rent is $2,500 a month, plus water, which is like $350. So those costs would be our top 5.
Okay.
Personnel being the biggest cost, and then food costs being right underneath that, followed by the marketing and utilities, and maintenance and repair, payroll tax.
All right. Now, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, what activities do you all spend most of your energy on here?
Yep. So the biggest activity we spend it on is prep. I think preparation is the biggest one, and then a lot of times if the prep is done right, then it kind of holds and backs everything else up. So we have late deliveries today, for example. So a lot of the deliveries for produce are coming to the afternoon. So we have a team here available to prep, but not a lot of things to prep because it wasn't here yet. So now all of that prep work then gets pushed to the next day, even though we had staff here to do it this day. And so that leads to overages and paying time, and some of you still are actively working.
So you mentioned things like marketing. You spend a lot of time on the promotion of the business, or is that something you outsource mainly?
So I personally am the one who does a lot of the like marketing and stuff, and so because I used to have a marketing background, it's been not, I wouldn't say easy, but I've been very fortunate to be able to like maintain, the relationships necessary to house that type of environment.
Yeah.
So, like, I would go out to lunch and dinner with different people in the media, and, before I even had a food business, just because, I don't know, maybe in the back of my head I knew I would need to have a good relationship with them later on. But I interned for a company like Dine Drink Detroit, and because of that position I had with them, I needed to interact with media a lot just to keep promotion of our stuff going. So I was able to generate a good rapport with a lot of these reporters and investigative writers and things like that, so that how when we have our business, it's not so much of me having to do all this stuff, but me just making a quick phone call and text or shooting over a document and saying, hey, this is what we got going on this week. And then I also have, like, most of the time, people in business, they don't have a good understanding of what a news cycle is or what constitutes as like a good news cycle, right? So most restaurants, for example, are like, yo, promote my restaurant, right? And in order for that restaurant to get promoted, it has to be along the lines of like, this is what's going on at the restaurant. Or this is something that we're doing that indirectly relates to us as a restaurant. Or this is something that's happening that relates to us in some way. So I think that we do a good job here in the village of providing not just food stores, but we've got the incubators. So we've got a consistent cycle of incubator stories. We've got a lot of different products that we do. So we've definitely got product diversity in that regard. And then in terms of the community, we're in the community a lot. We work with the Feed the Front Lines campaign. We work with the Pay It Forward campaign.
I remember that.
World Central Kitchen.
Yeah.
Those guys. So we do a lot of community work. We're going to be with the Pistons tomorrow, doing that stuff for Get Out and Vote and all that with the Pistons. So we're very active in the community, and because of that, we don't have to do as many activities that are directly related to like hard press marketing. And even with us doing like the print media, because we have more of these like soft touch aspects of Young Village, when we do a hard touch like the media and things like that, it's not so much people look at that and be like, what's Young Village? They're like, oh, this is Young Village, or like it gives them like a call to action. It's not just like a blanket piece of media that they just discard. It's consumption of action.
I would think you would spend a lot of time on just the operation of the restaurant, though, in terms
that takes 80% of my time.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Make sure the people here, make sure the food is here.
Make sure people are making money, getting paid. All of that. It's easy because, a lot of people, they say like, hey, blah, blah, blah. What about this and that? And I know we personally have a lot of activities that we're doing right now, but these activities are geared towards sustaining the current op. If your restaurant sales drop, you can try to increase restaurant sales, which is one thing, or you can diversify what it means for that restaurant to generate revenue. And with that, you can do things like cross-train and promote. If the restaurant sales drop, and we're trying to promote restaurant sales, I have to cut this person's hours. But if we also have these other things to supplement low restaurant sales, I don't have to cut this person's hours. And we still also can put out other products that have higher margins. The average restaurant is going to have 20 to 30% food costs. And anything lower than that, you're eating box food. So it's like those types of things you pay attention to. But a clothing item has like a 10% cost. So if someone buys a Young Village t-shirt for like $30 or $40, that only costs us $5 to $10 to make, it's a lot better than someone buying a $12 bowl of food that costs us $3 to make, and then $3 to $4 for the staff member to be on staff to like cook it over the variable breakdown of total meals in a day.
Okay. So obviously you are like the key man in this operation here. But if you just think kind of holistically in terms of the resources that you have in this business, in addition to you, so well, first of all, give me an idea of what does the staff look like at this point?
We got
management.
we got two folks, Chef Lee and Chef Sabri, who kind of operate at a manager level, and then we've got the team members underneath there. So far, we got about 4 or 5 team members, and then the 2 managers. So we got a pretty small team. We probably could use more people, but right now that's the team. And then I've got an advisory board and Fegan, who I talk with quite a bit. Chef Jock Van Staden, who was the founder, original founder of 2941 Street Food, and then my partner, Megan's her dad. He just recently retired, but he was the VP of sales for Thompson and Reuters. So those 3 people are
kind of brain trust.
Yeah, brain trust would be a good idea for it. Which I talk things on with them on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Honestly, the biggest thing for us right now is just dropping that food cost down to about 25%, and then getting that payroll down to about between 20 and 25%, because then with the added payroll tax, that would take it up to like 30 or 32%. Whereas right now, with the added payroll tax, it's at like 40%, which is it's too high for maybe for a fine dining. You got like $1 million revenues, so not for a quick casual, like a Qdoba, So
Well, one of the things I like about your business, you come at it systematically and kind of from a top-down perspective. It's not like somebody, I want to have a restaurant, and you just go in and start buying stuff from the grocery store and cooking stuff. And, you see a lot of restaurants like that.
I do.
But I'm wondering, what's the financial structure of the restaurant? What financial resources do you have in the business?
In terms of loans, or
in terms of how is it structured? The loans, you have investors, you have
Yep. So I don't have any investors. This is I had a personal loan for my family for $45,000, and then I had a grant, a lot of grant money that I used. I was a Motor City match recipient for $50,000, and then I paired that with a grant originally for $65,000 to acquire the space and its assets, for which I then extended that loan to another $25,000 to acquire a liquor license for the building. So we definitely have on paper $88,000 in debt through Detroit Development Fund, secured by the Chase Entrepreneur Color Fund, and then off paper I got a $45,000 personal loan out that I took from the family. Originally used to purchase a food truck. So a relatively low debt. In terms of investors, we don't have any investors right now. Everything's just kind of been self-funded or through the grants or loans. And even now, these other projects and products, we haven't taken on any investors, we haven't taken on any partners and things like that. So it's all just really just in-house operation. I eventually like to have like partners and a board and all that stuff, which we are working on. But I also don't want to have someone who comes on and it's not an active partner.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. Is
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of finance, a lot of sweat equity put into it. And, we would need that match.
Yeah.
You
You don't just want money; you want help.
Yeah, exactly. And then if it is money, it's got to be a lot of money. Because
Yeah.
The biggest thing with most of the things, I think it was the guy who owns Farman Group. I had to sit down with him when I first had the brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like 6 months into it. It's like, so in the summertime, he has me come to his office and he offered me $100,000 for a 25% stake in the Young Village.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I really could use that 100K, but like, I need more than that.
Yeah.
Especially for 25, that's a lot.
Yeah.
He wants it all. He wants everything: juices, spices, clothing, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's not even developed yet.
Yeah.
So it kind of like had to pause on like what that means.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
I've talked to the guy who owns this seafood company in a couple other places, and he said that he took on 150K from an investor, which he has to pay back 100K of that. He gets to keep 50, but that investor has a 20% stake in the business. And I was like, man, that sounds horrible. Why'd you do that?
You got a loan, and then for 50K, you gave up.
Yeah,
20% of the
it's like, at the time, I really needed it, but as I think back on it, I gave too much. I was like, no, of course you did.
Well, a lot of people don't realize, but it seems like you do. Most businesses start with that, friends, family, founders, and fools, right? And it gets a little tricky. It's pluses and minuses to get into the whole investment game. But the other thing it seems like you've done is one of the things with urban-focused businesses, these urban governments often have a direction that they're trying to go in, right? And if you get in line with that direction, resources can come with that. And if you get afoul of that direction, on the other hand, that doesn't help you, right? But with Motor City Match and other grants, that you've been able to receive, you're kind of in line. There's a reason why the city or these organizations would provide those resources, because you're helping them to achieve something that they want to achieve in the city, and that's a source of resources that other kinds of businesses don't necessarily have. So it seems like you've been able to take advantage of some of those things.
Yeah. We've been told that we fit a niche in terms of what the type of business we are and what we represent and all of that. So we're very fortunate that we are.
Yeah. But then at the same time, sometimes, I'm sure you want to graduate from that. You're thinking big, right?
Yeah.
And
yep. We're going to be on the sides of smart buses or the backs of smart buses like this one, and we want to be able to service a clientele that's not just Detroit. We want to really appeal to a clientele that is outside of Detroit.
Yeah. So thinking in terms of who the partners are of the business, you've mentioned a few from during the course of our discussion, but how would you summarize that? Who are the main partners that are helping you get this done?
Yeah, for one, Megan, she worked on the truck with me. She's kind of been a part of it since we've gone from pop-up to food trucking.
She's a business partner?
Well, the wifey.
Oh, okay.
Not officially married, but
okay.
And then Fegan, Chef Jacques, and then Megan's dad, Rick. Those three are kind of, as I said, the brain trust. I kind of talk a lot of the ideas out before we push it forward. And then I've been fortunate. I went through the Goldman Sachs program. I went through BizDem and Tech Town programs, and so I've been I had a lot of just Build Institute, and so I've had a lot of just reinforced acumen that's kind of placed on the unit commission state. They're having to do quite a lot of stuff that some might find repetitive, but it's just good to just keep having refreshers in terms of like how business is done, that kind of process.
What kinds of businesses or what specific businesses do you regard as competitive with what you're doing?
Yeah, so right now, I would say I look at like Panera Bread and anything on Amazon, really Whole Foods and Trader Joe's are what I look at as our like long-term competitors. And short-term competitors, I look at any restaurant that's within a 5 to 25 mile radius of us, as it's no longer relying on foot traffic. So any restaurant within a delivery radius of us is a competitor, and then long-term competitors would be like your Trader Joe's, your Plum Markets, things like that. Because that's eventually what we want to get to. For right now, anyone who's within delivery radius, walking distance, that can deter someone from supporting us and taking those dollars as a competitor.
Okay. So what aspects of your business model would you most like to improve at this point?
Yeah, I think the biggest aspect of it is the ergonomics of how we charge and transact. I think that psychologically, when people buy, I'll use 2941 Street Food for example, right? You go to 2941 Street Food, you get a bowl for $12.
Yeah.
You know, you can get all these assortments inside. You can do the same thing here, but here is a problem, you know. And so I think that it's because of just the value association of food and how people can order food from us. You know, we have an a la carte model, so you get your chicken, small, medium, or large, and then you get your assorted sides, small, medium, or large. We have it set up that way because, you know, as in the diaspora, when you go to a marketplace, you choose these things that you want, a la carte. I want chicken, 5 pounds. I want plantain, you know, a couple of pounds, right? You know, so we try to recreate that atmosphere. So I think that process is a bit cumbersome for people because we're not answering our phones and stuff. We don't have a guest experience liaison just yet. So that, you know, people don't know what they don't know. So when they contact us or communicate with us or interact with us, there's a big gap if there isn't a pre-notion or pre-experience associated with what they're getting that is almost a deterrence to the completion of the transaction. That's one iteration within the business model in terms of how people transact with us that I know for sure needs changing. The other is how people interact with us when they're not transacting. So I know our website, for example, is a trouble spot. Just from my own marketing experience, when I go to our website, there's a lot of things that just don't click or don't operate the way that they should, which in turn acts as a deterrence for business and not whether it be the clothing or the spices or actually going through and processing food.
So it sounds like overall you want to enhance the customer experience.
Yeah, customer experience.
You talked about that a lot,
Yeah.
you know, kind of from the beginning of our discussion.
I mean, it's really the biggest thing is that customer experience because we're not front-facing anymore. A lot of this stuff is online or digital, and so the customer experience digitally has to be so tight because most experiences digitally are a lot smoother and tighter now. I think 50% or 60% of people's online activity are spent on very stylized GUIs like Instagram and Facebook and stuff. And so I think people forget that we don't have Facebook or Instagram budgets, and so when people want to interact with us in those digital forums, it may not always be as smooth or tight. So we didn't really need that as much, but everything's online now, so you gotta change with the times.
Okay. Can't rely on your sparkling personality.
Yeah. Don't I can see you smile?
All right. Well, that's a good starting point, I think, for anybody working to help the business to think about. So is there anything that I haven't touched on or anything else about the business you want to bring out?
One that we do a lot of team stuff, where we're we locally source 80 to 85% of our ingredients come from the Midwest area, so whether it be Michigan or Philly or Ohio, and we also pay sustainable, in our opinion, living wage. We pay $15.50 an hour plus tip pooling, so at any point, anyone here is making anywhere from 16 plus to 20 an hour based on how the business operates. And then in addition to that, we also do a 50-50 split on health insurance. I cover 50% of the health insurance required through the company, as well as direct primary care services, earned sick leave, paid time off, and the 401k for people who've been here for 12 months. And then we also do UXL classes for the UXL University. So anyone who wants to take online classes for UXL, they got no demerits on their company profile. We cover it for them. They can learn it. And maybe even apply it here at our village. So we do invest a lot in our people, which is unprecedented because the quick casual industry, the industry that we're in, has a 90% turnover rate. So realistically, I hire 10 people in January, and then one is going to be around in December. And when I pay $15.50 an hour plus tips and all that is like a wasted investment when you're looking at it from a numbers standpoint. But in terms of longevity and keeping people's standpoint, Trader Joe's and Panera Bread and all these companies that were able to survive with people who've been with the company for 5 years, 3 years, and 10 years, but been able to do it because of the sustainability that comes with the employment. So knowing that despite how it affects us when it doesn't work, we still do that.
Do you see lower turnover than other similar restaurants?
No. We've been in business for a year, and I don't have one person who's been with me for a full year.
Wow.
I have maybe a few folks that have been with me for like 8 months. I had some people who were going to be with me for a year, but COVID happened, and so they left with COVID. So that turnover still happens.
So maybe that's another aspect of the business model, that employee-facing piece could be something to be looked at.
100%. I think that is definitely there.
Yeah.
I feel like I do a lot. I also feel like I need to get more out of my team, and I have been told this, that I do need to get more out of my team, but I'm also in the industry where that labor force is known to have a high turnover.
Yes, that's the first thing people say when they think about the restaurant business, right? It's a big HR issue, right?
Yeah.
But then you go to places like Beverly Hills Grill, you see the same people year after year after year.
They got money. They can pay those people. I don't know what their salary is, but a lot of those fine dines, they're making like 40 or 50 cash. So it makes it easy to kind of stick around.
That helps. Well, maybe the alcohol will help here. Anything with those margins.
Right. And that's one of the things too with us, because we're not sitting down anymore, we're missing out on the alcohol sales. Like us converting to a marketplace could potentially promote those alcohol sales because people can take it home.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
sell more Uncle Nearest bottles of alcohol than anything.
I love some Uncle Nearest. My buddy gave me a bottle of that for my birthday. It's the first time I had it. But
It's good, man.
yeah, and I didn't know the story before. Yeah, it's a great story as well.
Yeah.
So just to finish up, what's the vision? 10 years from now, what do you see?
10 years from now, we'd like to be like an Afro-Caribbean Trader Joe's. You can come into any Young Village hub and either get full market experience or a Young Village light, as we talked about, where they just got the juices, for example, or they just got the grab and go, so you can have a microwave on site or microwave at home. So we kind of see that aspect of it being there.
Maybe a branch at the airport.
Yeah, exactly. A Young Village branch
Out
at
on
the
the
airport,
concourse.
these types of things, and then being more than a restaurant specifically. So a lot of restaurants, they start off and their goal is to have like a Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A went 10 years before they opened up another Chick-fil-A, right? And then after that, then they opened up thousands, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to do that. I want to have lots of restaurants, but I also want to have other industries that are supplementing the restaurants because of the sheer fact that restaurants are low margin businesses. They at the end of the day, like you can have them go long term, you can run them, but as we see with like McDonald's and all those other places, the food has to be like cardboard to really make it work. And even then, they don't pay their people $15 an hour.
Yeah.
They only get $15 an hour in the suburbs.
Yeah.
They got to run 24 hours, and it's a line every hour.
Yeah.
So I see us being an Afro-Caribbean Trader Joe's, where we make a lot of our products in house. Young Village sauce, Young Village coffee, Young Village lotion, and then selling those products because it gives us an opportunity to generate revenue. Also gives us an opportunity to cross-train our workforce, so that one person isn't just doing one thing; they're doing a lot of things, which is typically the practice that comes with paying higher wages, which is something you have to do. And with that, perhaps even getting into Young Village experiences like Young Village travel, Young Village partnerships with hotels, maybe even a Young Village boutique hotel, Young Village video games that share with you how to learn about African culture, and then you get coupons to the Young Village entities.
Yeah.
So all of these stuff are related, embracing technology and combining that physical hub with the digital aspects of transaction.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's an ambitious project, but I think it's a project that's needed, and I think there'll be a lot of receptivity to it if the execution is done well.
Execution is king.
And then, with the rise of Africa, also the African continent, I think there's going to be more and more awareness and appetite for things African.
Yep. My 3 years ago, 1 year after Megan and I were together, her father, who was in the VP of Sales for Thompson Reuters, was in a conference in which the title of the conference was called Sleeping Giant, or no, Sleeping Lion is what it was called. And he was like, Godwin, you never believe it. You know how you're always talking about Africa? My company just had a conference. They had about 50 of us in there, and the title of the conference was Sleeping Lion. And I was like, what was it about? It was like about how lucrative Africa was. I was like, what? And this is like all white people.
Yeah.
And Thompson and Reuters, the last name,
not exactly altruistic in their hopes.
And they're talking about Sleeping Lion too, like of all the names. Right?
Yeah, right.
So she was showing me the document and all that. So I'm looking at it like, man, people are looking at Africa like it's like a gold mine, like a plate. And people who are more culturally accepted or have their heritage there aren't looking at it the same way. So the rise of Africa is happening even now.
Yeah.
There is some some legitimate national warfare going on in the continent of Africa right now, where I would even say borderline aggressive some of the activities that countries are doing as it relates to how they operate in Africa.
Yeah. Well, and then I was just reading an article just last week that talked about Rwanda as the new Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the development there has been tremendous, especially when you think about where they were,
Oh, right, yeah.
20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's really come along. So well, I really appreciate you doing this. I appreciate your partnership with the class, and hopefully, we can make it a win-win situation. You're working with us.
I think so too.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, for sure.
All right.